Hi everyone. Welcome back to PIPORNOT Superorganismic Upcycling and Mending virtual program. My name is Sarika. What is PIPORNOT? If you're interested in learning more about the project PIPORNOT, please visit pipornot.com. And today's guest is Sarika. Sarika is a good friend of mine, actually a friend from college. Sarika is a UN official turned entrepreneur, the founder of Sarika Group, an education consultancy specializing in sake education and face yoga. So Sarika, hi, welcome.
Thank you, Ari-chan, for this opportunity. So I'm Sarika, and as Ari mentioned, I'm the founder of sarikagroup.org, and my mission is very simple. It is to help people discover the beauty of sake and face yoga.
So today's topic, Doburoku and sustainability. So what is Doburoku?
Yeah, well, Doburoku is, the origin of sake, but it's actually officially not classified as sake. It's like a riddle. So it is actually under the sake law, it is not sake, even though it is the exact sacred origin of sake. So Doburoku is like a wild sake that's, it's like a totally fresh, raw brewed sake, and you don't actually separate the rice solids and the liquid. And that's the reason why it cannot be classified officially as sake. Yeah, it's like a rice congee. It's more, if you can visualize, it's more like almost a food rather than a drink. You probably know that actually sake can be 100 medicines. There's a saying in Japanese, sake wa hyaku no cho, which means sake is 100 medicines. Obviously in moderation. And the reason why it's a medicine is because it's got it's like a vitamin tablet with 100 minerals and vitamins and all kinds of amino acids, enzymes, but that's actually already contained in sake. But in the case of Doburoku, as I mentioned, the liquid, because, okay, just to recap, sake is our national beverage of Japan, the alcoholic beverage of Japan, and it's basically fermented rice. But what happens in the process is that in order to drink this fermented rice, you actually at the end separate the liquid and the rice solids. So once you separate them or filter them, then you have actually a drink that you're familiar with. But in the case of Doburoku, you never do that last separation. So you have this drink with rice floating inside, and that's all full of all the good nutrients and enzymes. In some ways, sake is itself is also sustainable in some way, because most of the sake breweries, we've got over 1,000 of them in Japan. We used to have 30,000 in the Meiji era, but now we only have 1,300. But anyway, all these sake breweries, so officially under sake law, Doburoku is not sake. You have to separate the rice out of the sake so that you have this clear liquid sake, right? But what happens to the leftover or the byproducts of sake? They do get recycled. I mean, they sell it to farmers as an animal feed. You can also make lots of beauty products out of the sake kasu, which is full of nutrients, and and you probably heard that the brewers' hands are like babies' hands because they're always touching the sake, and the whole process of making sake involves a lot of touching these enzymes. So a lot of the sake kasu turns into beauty products as well. So in a way, sake does get sake leaves, or the sake rice, does get recycled, even though when it's separated. But in the case of Doburoku, you don't even have that waste to start with. Can you see this? This is the rice polishing percentage. So normally in the case of sake, in general, you have to polish the rice. You polish the outside of the rice because it contains kind of protein and fat. And when you have too much of that, it kind of makes the sake rough and not so clean and tasty. So a lot of the times, I mean, actually, you've probably heard of Jumai Daiginjo, all these namings. That actually refers to how much rice you polish from the outside. So normally for eating rice, you take out about 8% of the outside. But for sake, if you can see this, there are different grades of sake, and they're actually based on how much rice you take out. So in a way, this kind of goes against the current thinking of sustainability, because in order to make daiginjo, that means you have to actually take waste 50% of the rice to start with even.
Wow.
It's called the rice polishing ratio, or
Okay.
seimai buai, and that kind of determines the grade of the rice at the moment. But in the case of Doburoku, we don't really do any of that. I mean, you can use the polished rice, but normally Doburoku is just you use the entire thing. And now I think a lot of the sake breweries are experimenting making good sake without polishing so much anymore. Yeah, so I think Doburoku it's actually way easier to brew than sake. As mentioned, it's a much less sophisticated brewing technique because it's the origins of sake. So basically, it's like a farmer's brew, and you ferment the rice in one go. You don't do like a 3-step sophisticated process that sake requires. So that's why I started brewing Doburoku first, because I thought, okay, I think I could do it. And I actually took a course, like an online class, how to make Doburoku, and I thought, wow, this is so fascinating. And I can only do this because I'm outside of Japan right now, but it's illegal to home brew in Japan.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's heavily fined. And actually, you'll be so surprised that there's a whole Doburoku or sake brewing, home brewing community outside of Japan. For Doburoku, all you need is basically rice, and we don't even need yeast if you make a very simple type of Doburoku, because the yeast, well, it's kind of natural wild yeast in the air. It's just like making sauerkraut. So you don't really need to purchase a kit for that.
How long does it take to make Doburoku?
About 2 weeks. So half the time of sake.
So you're brewing right now?
Oh, yes. I've got lots of things brewing at the moment. Yeah, it's on the terrace.
I know that you're official ambassador of Doburoku.
Yeah, well, actually, Doburoku is not so well known in Japan itself. You'll be surprised. The reason is that home brewing has been banned in Japan since the Meiji time. So sake breweries normally, only a handful of sake breweries, or that you need a special permission to brew Doburoku in Japan right now. A lot of the sake breweries decide not to brew Doburoku either, because somehow the image of Doburoku, there's a negative image of this illegal moonshine or home brew. Wow. The whole idea of the Doburoku ambassadors, well, I was fortunately asked to be one, was to share the love of Doburoku, how interesting Doburoku is. And it's actually making a comeback in Japan right now. October 26th, to is 10, do, and then Doburoku, 2 and 6. So it's kind of October 26th. You can read it as Doburoku. This is actually an official day established by a sake brewery in Nagano. They established this day called Doburoku Day. And the idea right now is that we really want to spread the Doburoku love and appreciation to our fellow Japanese sake drinkers, and I mean, broader also. In the past, like sake was sake, and you had no idea what rice it is or where it even came from or what water it was using. And nowadays, people are so curious. They want to know like what rice specifically. Is it omachi rice, Yamata Nishiki rice, or whatever? There's like more than 100 different sake rice. So people are much more curious. We want to know what we're consuming, right? And we want to,
yeah.
if there is a choice, we want to, of course, select the one that's better for the planet. So yeah, I think a lot of people want to know. And if there's a choice, yeah, sure, why not get Doburoku?
Please check out Sarika Group's website and also follow sarika.sake on Instagram. Thank you, Sari-chan. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. So we say goodbye to people.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.